Welcome to the dark side of chess, and this Wednesday we take on the 1978 World Chess Championship match, truly one of the most crazy ones, and not crazy in terms of chess, but in terms of things outside of chess. So first of all, who are the protagonists? Well, Anatoly Karpov, who beat Korchnoi in the final of the candidates to get a spot to challenge Fischer, but he obviously didn't play, so Karpov took the title. And now Korchnoi fought his way back up, and now they are in this World Chess Championship match. And the thing is, Korchnoi, he defected from the USSR, so he was seen as the villain by the Soviet authorities. And, of course, this was, the source of many political tensions in the match. And, of course, the players, they kind of hated each other as well. It's not like sportsmen, where you really want to beat your opponent. I think these guys really hated each other, and I'm gonna show you a couple of clips later. So without further ado, let's begin with the first decisive game. Karpov has the white pieces, Korchnoi has the black pieces, and we have a open Spanish right here. Basically, this is pretty normal. This has been played a lot of times. This is actually, in fact, the main line of the Ruy Lopez. And the knight goes back, and basically, white gets the center here, the center pawn, and black develops like this. But black is not gonna get to castle. Why? Because here comes white. Of course, you have to move the knight. The knight was under tension, and you take the pawn here. F4, you kick away the knight, and this move knight c4 here is a blunder. This is the only game that features this move, and every game since, that you're supposed to go knight e to d3. Why? Because f5, and now you can take with the g pawn, and after knight takes on f5, you can go castles. Because in this particular position, you're actually quite safe, because white has to get through another layer of a defense, and you can just take the bishop. For example, you can take the bishop and then play queen g5, and you are fine here. I mean, but white is still much better. Not much better, but white is still kind of better, but you have your chances. Meanwhile, what happened in the game when the knight goes to c4, now after f5 and the whole thing, here if castles would have happened, now knight takes on g7 and you're in fact lost, because knight takes on c4, d takes on c4, and now look at this. Queen h5, and you see the power of the bishop. Even if you sacrifice the bishop, bishop h6 check, king h8, and I mean, you can take the knight, you can then give a check, you attack the rook. It's a very bad position for black. So, Korchnoi tried to defend his bishop, but he is in fact still worse, even though he gets this variation. And now bishop takes on h6 maybe would have been kind of like a saving grace, but not really, as the position is still in white's favor. Instead of that, Korchnoi played bishop back, which definitely buries him quite alive, because now, I mean, white is simply gonna get the pawn, and you're not touching the knight as the bishop is pinned. And now I'm just gonna take your bishop here. You can give me a check, but okay. And now look at this. I mean, the bishop is under attack, because if the knight moves, this becomes hanging. Also, if the queen doesn't defend. But the whole thing is, if you play something like rook d7, this can actually be played, because the rook cannot be taken, as this would be checkmate. That's what I'm trying to say exactly. And it doesn't take long until Karpov figures that out, and this is a checkmating attack. If you go here, this is checkmate, and if you then sacrifice all your pieces, there is no point in playing the game any further. So the thing is, Karpov, he used to receive some blueberry yogurt, and Korchnoi saw that as, maybe it's a hidden way of transferring him some information, maybe saying if the positions are drawn or not, and, some crazy stuff. And then, I'm gonna show you a clip here. This is from Oliviu di Lumpi, that's Oliviu Urcan. He's a fellow Romanian, and he has a lot of archive posts. And look at this, it's called The Moment When Korchnoi Brought Out His Mirrored Sunglasses in the Opening Game of his... Look at that. I mean, Korchnoi literally brought his sunglasses in the opening game, and these players were so full of antics. Like, they accused each other with the yogurts, and that's why he won this game. But you know, before that, Korchnoi, he wore sunglasses, and they accused each other of hypnotizing. And I'm gonna show you another clip a little bit later on. But Korchnoi in fact managed to make a comeback. I'm just gonna show you he played kind of an unusual opening, although there's you know, some games in the database. I'm gonna skip through this one as it's not necessarily a groundbreaking game. Korchnoi just played a really nice game here with the white pieces. So he attacks the queen, he moves the knight out of the way, and he gets a nice outpost for the knight. And now he trades the knight, but look at that. I mean, this is you know, this would have been a fork if the knight would not have been on c7. So, I mean, he is trying to get rid of the knight somehow, putting pressure on black's position. And here, queen c1, a multi-purpose move, puts pressure on this, defends the bishop, and also rook attacks here on a7, and it doesn't take long until Korchnoi just gets a completely dominant position and goes on to win the game and complete the comeback in the match. Now the score would be tied 1-1. And we skip a little bit into the future now after some games. And after game number 16, which ended in a draw, we arrive at game number 17, where Korchnoi has the white pieces and Karpov has the black pieces. Korchnoi is down 3-1 at this point in the match. And he's gonna start off with a Nimzo-Indian defense. And now, a rare line, the bishop attack, this is called. And here, basically, we have the kind of like a new game after knight e2. And Karpov takes the center, but of course he sacrificed the pawn. Here, of course, you don't take the bishop, as you would lose your rook. Oops. And yeah, now white is kind of consolidating. So if white can in fact get everything right, now again, you cannot take, so you push. If white can get everything right, I mean, white is up a pawn at the end of the day, also has the bishop pair, so he should be advantageous in this position. And that's actually a fact. So Karpov tries to play e4. Of course, Korchnoi stops that. Now e4 is impossible because you would lose the pawn. So c5, putting pressure on this bishop, maybe even c6 in some lines. But okay, I mean f4, and he basically sacrifices this pawn back. But now here he has a beautiful tactic. Pause the video if you want to spot it yourself, but you have 3 seconds to do so. 3, 2, 1, and the move is rook b8 check. Now, of course, if you take the rook, you lose the queen. But what happens if king f7, right? The other move. Well, now I don't blame Korchnoi for not spotting this, or maybe not evaluating this correctly, because this is a pretty forcing line. Now, after this move, you basically have two alternatives. Either you take, but taking, as I'm going to show, it's not the best thing, or you try to go for some sort of counterplay with e4, trying to keep the f-file closed. But this also doesn't really work, as even though, you might see, oh, I get this pawn, well, oops, your rook is hanging in the corner, so watch out for that. And here you would have to play something like queen b7, and you would lose this pawn, and you would be down 2 pawns. And even though you pick up this pawn, I mean, it's losing because you're almost getting checkmated here. And the other variation here, after, where is it? After rook to b5, if you take, well, this also doesn't really work, because even though you can come back with the queen, this doesn't really have any importance, as it's basically kind of the same variation. You try to run away, I take, and let's see, g takes, and I just bring out my bishop, I attack your knight, I can go queen f3, I have many moves that I can play. But instead of that, here Korchnoi took the bishop, and now he is in a, definitely almost equal position, because Karpov gets, his pawn back, he stabilizes, and yeah, I mean, Korchnoi is gonna have to start the process all over again in trying to get the advantage. But for a brief moment he does, and he manages to pick up a pawn, and now he has winning chances again. But he's got to find all the right moves. And now, here comes the key moment. he takes a pawn, but he should not have taken that pawn. He should have attacked the knight. And after knight d2, now played rook a3, defending his pawn, and after something like rook c6, now he could have played the rook to a1. And you're gonna see while looking at the game, well, what this position just not occur in the other variation as well? Well, yes, but can you spot? Okay, let me flip the board real quick. Can you spot the mate in 3? It's actually a pretty famous checkmate here by Karpov, and you know, have to realize, look at the difference between this position right here, especially this rook, and this position right here after rook to a1. Well, the same thing doesn't work anymore because knight f3 check. Look at that. And Korchnoi resigns because picking the knight up is forced, as this is also checkmate, so you would have to pick up the knight. But now rook to g6, king h1, and this is the same checkmate. So that's why it was essential to keep the knight pinned. Wow, what a nice tactic by Karpov, but what a sad loss for Korchnoi, who could have been, you know, winning this game. And that put Karpov up 4-1, but Korchnoi made a comeback. And the game, the score was 4-5 in favor of Karpov in game number 21, and Korchnoi had the white pieces. I think I forgot to say that this match is a different format than the other ones. It's first to 6 wins. And I'm just gonna show you another hilarious clip. Look at that. I mean, Korchnoi, he claimed that Karpov, this is from AP Archive, I think, he claimed that Karpov had some secret, you know, psychiatrists or you know, people with psychotic powers that basically put him, hypnotized him, and then he did this yoga routine with this, you know, gurus, and it actually worked, surprisingly. I don't know if it's just placebo or something, but I mean, it actually worked. You can watch that. I'm gonna leave also a link to the Chess24 article down in the comments, in the description or in the comments below if you want to check that out. I mean, just so many crazy things. But coming back to the game number 31, sorry. Korchnoi has the white pieces and he's down 1, and the end is kind of approaching. And we don't have necessarily an exciting game, we just have a queen's gambit decline. This is a very normal position, even I have gotten similar positions. But here Karpov deviates with the move queen d7. There have been no games played with knight e6, also g6, also knight g6, but queen e7 is the first game to do so. But the thing is, the knight here on d7 doesn't look so natural as it would look on e6, and you have to spend one more move to have to bring it to f6. But okay, it doesn't really matter, as the position is still, you know, kind of in the balance. But here Korchnoi, you know, hooks up a plan that's really nice. So of course he makes some moves to get closer to time control, and that you know, he repeats the position a little bit. But now he finally finds a way to break through here, and he plays it. He goes e4, and after the trade here, you see Karpov runs away from trading any further pieces, because this would leave white with, you know, a monster knight right here that if you ever try to remove, b takes, and now I'm gonna make a pass pawn as white, and I'm just gonna be in a winning position. So Karpov has to be careful. He doesn't want to trade the material in the wrong way. So right, we have these trades, but now you can see that, okay, the king is not on c4 anymore. The position doesn't look so drastic. But Korchnoi is still pushing for the win with his new abilities granted by the gurus, and that he gained through meditation, of course. And he manages to infiltrate with this king. Now very instructive, not taking the pawn, because after king c7 you are not doing anything anymore. You have to come back, and that's, you know, basically admitting that you are not playing for anything more than a draw. But king b6, and now Korchnoi finds a way. d5, and he gets a passed pawn. Okay, he had to sacrifice a pawn in the process, but the rook swings over, and here Karpov made a huge mistake. He went b3. And now Korchnoi threatens checkmate. This is checkmate. So, and if you try to come here, it's gonna take the pawn. So Karpov tried to stick with his pawns here on the queen side, but in the end, he's just lost. I mean, he loses a pawn, and then he picks up this one, but this doesn't work. This endgame is lost. Because it doesn't matter what you do, at some point, I'm just gonna push this pawn, I'm just gonna bring in the king, kick your king out, and then the pawns are way too far away for the king to be able to stop the pawn. Like if this pawn would have been, let's say, here on a7, maybe that could have been a draw, but on the c file, this is winning for white. And that brings us to the last and final game. The score is tied. 5-5, first to 6 wins, all the drama here included. Let's go. Karpov has the white pieces, right? And Korchnoi goes for the perk defense. Definitely something that you would play if you would like to win this. And this is also called the quiet system. So something kind of provocative, but not really too much. And this has been played a lot of times, of course. Knight comes back to c7, this is a well-known system, b6, rook e1, bishop goes to b7, and now Korchnoi asks the question to Karpov, what are you doing with the bishop? Bishop comes to g5, okay, you wanna make my bishop move? Make it move, okay, no problem, you're gonna go back. But the thing is, here, in fact, a move like h6 is actually quite viable, because if bishop h4, well, now, at least the bishop is on h4, which is a much more normal square than on g5. I mean, you don't really want your bishop to be on g5 because it's easy to create batteries and stuff like that. And you can just play queen d7, maybe try to unpin your pawn and go forward. But Korchnoi, when he went back, now that allowed Karpov, as I said, to move forward. I mean, also queen d2 would have been entirely reasonable. a6, and now here comes Karpov. h3, knight back to d7, and it's clear that something went wrong for Korchnoi. Maybe it's the nerves, maybe it's all the political tension, maybe it's the beef between these two, maybe it's the psychotic powers in Karpov's camp, but he seems unhappy with the position. b5, he's trying to break through, but the bishop just goes back, and now, I mean, if you take your knight takes on a4, b3, and that side is sealed. So Korchnoi keeps the tension a little bit longer, and Karpov, I mean, he just gets out of the way. I mean, like, push your pawns, but I'm not here anymore. So Korchnoi tries to remaneuver his pieces, but now Karpov is ready to strike. e5, and this is the beginning of the end for Korchnoi. By the way, a move like knight takes on d5, it doesn't work, but can you spot exactly why? Well, it's not entirely easy, but it's knight h5 check, and if you take the knight, this is forced checkmate here in a couple of moves. I mean, queen h6, and you can sense how this is gonna end. Right, this is also hanging and stuff like that, plus knight g5 is forced checkmate, and that's why you cannot take the pawn. Knight h5 check, and you have to take this pawn instead, but it's still not all that better. And even though you get to pick up this pawn, now there's an only move, a brilliant move as they would call it today, that Karpov played. He took this pawn, and this might not be seeming so significant, but if c4 was allowed, then black would have had the chance to come back in the game. Rook gets attacked, but now knight h4. Knight h4 is a mistake. Knight h4 gives up all the advantage. Here, the move c4 would have been crushing, because you gotta kick away the knight. The knight doesn't really have a lot of squares. If you try to go here, then, I mean, knight h4 now, and again, you have all sorts of problems in the position. Knight f5 as well, everything is hanging, and yeah, if you go knight c7, then, okay, this might be a little bit of a trap now, because bishop takes on f3, and you attack the queen, but still knight h4, and you have all the same problems here. Everything is quite loose. But with knight h4 right away, I mean, Korchnoi had the chance, the one and only, the last chance of this match to play queen b8, forcing the queen to move out of the way, and then finally e6. And now his position seems like it's hanging together, and when c4 comes, now you can go knight f4, defended by the queen, and you can maybe hope to get something here, although still very vague. You're sacrificing the pawn, but you have hope. Instead, what happened, Korchnoi went back trying to defend the f5 square, but in doing so, he didn't activate his queen, and this queen got to be very strong, and c4 finally comes. Now when you sacrifice the pawn, it's not the same anymore. Now it's not the same anymore, because white is simply much more solid. And yeah, I mean, dare I say, completely winning. Rook d2 again, just making sure, very in the style of Karpov, making sure everything is alright before going in. Now rook takes on e6 is a huge threat. Rook g8 trying to stop knight takes on g6. Knight back to f3, knight g5 is the way to go. You try to trade queens, no thank you, going back. And yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, the game is kind of reaching its conclusion. This is a very poisoned pawn, as you would lose your rook. Always, look at everything. Korchnoi finds himself on move 41 in a sad position, and he doesn't wait any longer for Karpov to find this beautiful tactical shot. Knight takes on f7. If you capture the knight, this is checkmate, and yeah, well, if you don't capture the knight, you're completely lost. And he resigns. And with that, we reach the conclusion of this World Championship match. But don't go anywhere, because next week there's gonna be the rematch. They're gonna have the rematch. But this was the dark side of chess. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I mean, hopefully you don't have to experience this yourself. But this was definitely a roller coaster. So yeah, see you next time. Kowalsky.